It's a new year, a new season, and we are underway.
Really dominating fashion here today is going to win.
2, 3, 4 for the final time.
Win number 1 on the season, only just barely.
He is going to win here at the Nazareth Speedway.
Wins the Emerson Electric 100K.
Gonna be Igor Barretto's gonna eke it out.
Cup Series champion is Shane Lake in the number 15.
Welcome to the NOFSRL.
The Turkey Hill National Series returns here on AG Racing as we head to South Carolina for the first race in the month of May on AG Racing. This is the Southwest Airlines 200 here at the historic Darlington Raceway in Season 6 of the NOFSRL Turkey Hill National Series. Hello everybody, this is Napa Fan here, and this is race number 11 in season number 6 of the NOFSRL Turkey Hill National Series. We are here at the Darlington Raceway, a 30-lap event here on this Friday afternoon. It's going to be one of the shortest races of the season for these guys. It's going to go by very fast, and because of that, these guys are starting up front. Are going to have a good opportunity at going to victory lane here today. I'm joined alongside Nathan Smith for the call of today's Southwest Airlines 200. And Nathan, we will have a pit stop about 20 laps into the race, but outside of that, there really isn't much time or many ways to move your way from the back to the front here at Darlington. So if you are one of those guys starting in the back, what's their strategy to possibly move up front and get a top 10 or top 5 in this race?
Well, I think the only real strategy is possibly short pitting and pitting earlier than the rest of the guys.
Yeah, and the tire wear here at the Darlington Raceway is very significant, so when you come down a little bit earlier than the rest of the field, you gain an advantage on the field. Once we get to the end of the field run, 20 laps into this race, the differential in the lap time is going to be 2 to 2.5 seconds a lap. So if you come in 2 laps before somebody else, you could easily gain 5 seconds on them on the racetrack, and that could definitely come into play to how well you finish here at Darlington. We're going to have another race here later on in the season in September when we do the Southern 500 as well. That'll be a 38-lap race, but this is only a 30-lap race. Like I mentioned, one of the shortest races of the season for these guys. This is a very fast-paced racetrack, and it's going to go by very quickly. So these guys, like I said, starting up front are going to have a good advantage at possibly going to victory lane here today. This is how they line up in the point standings coming into today's event. John Andrews is the new points leader after Talladega 2 weeks ago. 270 points towards the championship for him. Noah Clifton is 11 points behind. Landon Smith Jr. 14 points behind. Joshua Harrison 20 points behind. And then a tie for 5th between Audrey Baranowskis and Mitchell Collins, both 21 points behind. We still have mathematically 14 drivers who could take the points lead at the end of today's race. So this championship has far from been decided here in the Turkey Hill National Series. Let's go ahead and get these guys to roll off here from Darlington. And it's the number 23 of Will Parrish, who's going to start on the pole position for Go Noom Racing. Alongside him, the Armory Digital winner of Dennis Stryker, the Richmond winner starting up here as well in Ashland Boy, number 65, looking for his 3rd win of the season. He could possibly pull it off here today. He's alongside Aiden McCrow there in row number 2. We got Joshua Harrison, who's had a very solid season in his rookie campaign here in the Turkey Hill National Series. He's alongside Dustin Davis, Julio Caesar in the 75 to the inside of Marty Johnson, then Micah Knapp and Roberto Crown Jr. in row number 5. You got Josh Williamson there starting in the 11th position. We'll make sure everybody's rolling off, and it does appear that they are. And Nathan, a lot of guys starting up front have a good shot at winning this race here today, but odds are the winner's going to come from the top 20. Who do you think is going to go to the victory lane here in the Southwest Airlines 200?
I'm going to go with the 63 of Dustin Davis.
Interesting call right there. Starting on the outside lane. Hasn't had the best of seasons there for Heritage Motorsports. As a matter of fact, that whole team has had a tough season, but Dustin Davis wants to get rid of that Dustin Davis moment of his career, and he wants people to focus on him being a winner here in the NOFSRL. We're going to have to see how it all goes down. He is starting on that outside lane. That's a tough place to start here. That outside lane is very, very bad to be in turns 1 and 2, so it's going to be interesting to see where those guys who start in that outside lane fall back to at the beginning of this race. It's only a 30-lap event here at Darlington. We got some red and white walls this time around. A little bit of a throwback, even though it's not an official throwback weekend for us here. Should still be a great race nonetheless. Pace car is down the pit lane. We're green flag action here at Darlington in the Turkey Hill National Series.
out of turn 2 down the backstretch. Will Parrish has the lead, but there goes Ashland Boyd to the inside, trying to get around him as they roar through turns 3 and 4 on this opening lap here at Darlington.
Ashland Boyd trying to work the inside, but couldn't hold on to it. Will Parrish gets that run in the outside lane off of turn number 4. The outside lane works pretty well in turns 3 and 4. It does not work at all in turns 1 and 2, and that makes this place very unique and very interesting. It's a very narrow track as well, so things get really interesting here at the Darlington Raceway. Boyd's going to have another shot, though, on Will Parrish as he dives to the inside into turn number 3, I should say. Joshua Harrison right behind him there. Julio Caesar and Micah Knapp, the top 5. Ashland Boyd going for his 3rd win of the season, but he comes into this race 30th in the point standing, so the only 2 top 10s he has had all season have been his 2 race victories at Daytona and Richmond so far. Got a lot of movement back in here. Josh Williamson under fire from Aiden McCrow. Joshua Harrison falling back in the 48 machine. Watch out for that slam off the turn 2 wall. That happens quite a bit. That's where we get a lot of our Darlington stripes here when we come in the NOFSRL. And Boyd still trying to get on Will Parrish, and it looks like he will finally clear him for the race lead.
Ashland Boyd out of turn 4 is clear for the race lead around Will Parrish as he leads lap 3 at Darlington, the Southwest Airlines 200. And now Julio Caesar and Micah Knapp get by Will Parrish as he is stuck on the outside lane, falling back.
Yeah, Will Parrish not in a good position right there. Luke Rainey just tapped the outside wall there in the 21 machine. He's going to lose some momentum right there. Number 28 of Aiden McCrow now on Will Parrish. Top 4 all on each other as problems for Elijah Gordon in the 35. He's come down the pit lane, and he's not going to be able to make it to the end of the race on that tank of fuel either. About a 20-lap fuel run here at the Darlington Raceway for Turkey Hill National Series guys. It's going to be much more for the Cup guys tomorrow, however. They have a larger fuel cell, but because this race is so short, have to put a smaller fuel cell in for these guys, so they would, in fact, have to make a pit stop in this race. Micah Knapp to the inside of Julio Caesar. That's for 2nd. Haven't seen much of Micah Knapp this season, but he's been pretty consistent. 13th in points coming into this race. Definitely would love to see him get a race victory. Good friend of mine right there, leading the inside of Julio Caesar. And Josh Williamson has had an abysmal season in that 75 machine for Otter Island Motorsports. A great opportunity for the Hers machine here as he gets around his teammate Julio Caesar for 3rd. And Caesar now going to get stuck in that outside lane as Harrison and McCrow move to the inside of him. That's going to open the door for Boyd to pull away a little bit from Micah Knapp in that number 65 machine. Only lap 6 of 30, but already a 6th of the way through the Southwest Airlines 200. And the caution is out. Somebody around, and that is Ben Crouch in the 44. So our first caution of the day, that's going to make things interesting because we're not at a point where these guys can make it to the end. But just like Kansas was in the NOFSRL Cup Series last week, we could end up with a fuel mileage race if some of these guys decide to stretch it. But I don't think you can make it to the end of the race if these guys come down right here. So this is going to be very, very interesting to see how this all plays out. But more than likely, these guys are going to come down the pit lane right here because the tire wear is already significant on these guys. And if any of these guys come down and take 4 good years and the other guys don't, they're going to have a major advantage. So I imagine the whole field's going to come down right here. This may actually save Elijah Gordon if he didn't go a lap down. That's the big question. He did go a lap down, so it's not going to work out for Gordon. If he had stayed on the lead lap, he would have had a shot at possibly getting back in with these guys. That's not going to happen for him. Let's see how these pit stops go here. Under our first caution as Ben Crouch went around down the backstretch. Looks like it was a minor incident, thankfully, but Ashland Boyd has led the most laps so far in this race. We'll have to see what he does on the pit lane.
And Micah Knapp pulling off. Ashland Boyd did not stop. Oh, no, wait, never mind.
Yeah, it's a very unique pit lane here.
I did not realize
the
that.
First 5 pit stalls are farther ahead of that little kink in the wall there. Very unique pit lane, and you may notice this is the original version of Darlington. We've always used the original version of Darlington, but Trey Wright put the red walls on for us to make it look a little bit more modern, but there still is no safer barrier here for the very fact that this track is too narrow for that. Ashland Boyd does have an issue, though. He's stuck on the pit lane. Micah Knapp's going to win the race off with Williamson, Caesar, Harrison, and Crown Jr., and they are still on the pit lane. Major issue for Ashland Boyd. He's going to fall way through the field. So I'd imagine it was a 4-tire stop for most of these guys, and now they are led by Micah Knapp in the number 67 for Smith Motorsports. Both of his teammates have won this season, Priya McShane and RJ Bishop. He's going to become the 3rd driver for Smith Motorsports to win a race this season. But first, let's go ahead and see what happened to bring out the first caution of the day here in the Southwest Airlines 200. They get back to racing here at the Darlington Raceway in the Turkey Hill National Series season number 6. Ben Crouch, 44 machine, just like Hightower, smashes that outside wall, and that is something we're going to see a lot of this weekend. And that's not what causes the yellow, though. You're going to see Isaac Nichols come in here, and Crouch is cutting down just a little bit, and Nichols gets into his quarter panel and essentially just sends him around. No major contact from this. Ben Crouch just spun around and triggered the yellow, but imagine that 44 is not going to be too happy after that exchange right there. Tough break for the NS Racing driver with Ben Crouch, but name of the game sometimes here at Darlington, especially with how fast that turn 2 wall comes at you. Just think, if we had safer barriers here, they wouldn't be able to get around the racetrack, so glad we don't have that. And it's a video game, so we don't need safer barriers, but you may need a safer barrier on your desk in case you slam your head from frustration. Let's go and replay this in real time.
Here you see coming out of turn 2, Joey Hightower and the 44 get into the wall, and here comes Isaac Nicholas. Just know where to go, and round goes the 44.
Yeah, tough break for Ben Crouch right there. It was at the back of the field, but he should be able to continue after that. Just some minor damage from hitting an outside wall. That was the worst thing that happened, was him hitting the outside wall right there. Either way, let's go ahead and get to the restart after the cycle of pit stops. Mike and Knapp, your race leader. But I think a lot of these guys are still going to have to make another stop in this race before it's done, so stick around. It's going to be an interesting one here in the Southwest Airlines 200 at Darlington. Back here at the Darlington Raceway in Darlington, South Carolina. And have a great weekend here around the Lady in Black, one of the oldest racetracks on the circuit here in the NOFSRL. Tomorrow at noon Eastern Time, the South Carolina Education Lottery 400. 59 laps of action for the Cup guys. And then next week, I'm really looking forward to it because it's Dover, my home track. And hey, going to be able to go this year as well. Haven't been to any sort of race since the last IndyCar race at Pocono all the way back in 2019, so definitely looking forward to that next weekend. But either way, I'm sure Mike and Knapp's looking forward to this restart. We're going to have to see what he can do on this restart, driving the number 67 machine with Josh Williamson, Julio Caesar, Otter Island teammates right behind him, Joshua Harrison, Roberto Crown Jr., Will Parrish, Dan Park, Aiden McCrow, and Mitchell Collins, along with Colin Teague. That is the top 10. Now, the big question here is, these guys came down lap 8, with 23 laps to go. The field window's about 20 laps. They have some caution laps in there, but I don't think anybody's going to be able to make it to the end of the race. And we saw what happened in the Cup race at Kansas last weekend. Fuel mileage became an issue there, but this time around, I think everyone's going to have to come back down at least one more time. Going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But right now, we're going to pretend that it isn't an issue. Mike and Knapp with the race lead. Williamson and Caesar all in line. No movement up inside the top 10 right now. Keep it a single file line down the backstretch here at Darlington. But there goes Williamson looking to the inside of Mike and Knapp for the race lead.
And Josh Williamson gets a fantastic run into turn 3, and he's clear for the lead. Will he be able to hold it off the corner? Yes, he will. And there goes the 48 of Joshua Harrison trying to get by Mike and Knapp for second.
Harrison has had a great season. He's 4th in points coming into this race, has 4 top 10s on the year there for Angel Racing, and a win right here would be huge towards the championship for him, because a lot of these other guys who are up there in the points, there's Noah Clifton, Landon Smith Jr., a couple guys ahead of him midway through the field, currently running in, let me see here, 15th and 16th, so they're not actually running too bad, but the points leader, John Andrews, on the other hand, is mired back in the field right now in that number 11 machine. He's all the way back in 29th, so odds are we're going to end up with a new points leader once again at the end of the day. It's a mess back in there, and obviously we saw what happened with Ben Crouch. It just get crunched up just a little bit too much, and there's not much room on this racetrack to avoid things. Like I said, a very narrow racing line here at the Darlington Raceway. So it makes this place very, very fun and unique. But Josh Williamson holding on to the race lead. Joshua Harrison, Roberto Crown Jr., Mike and Knapp's falling off quite a bit right there. Here comes Julio Caesar for 4th. Dan Park in a battle with Aiden McCrow there for the 6th position. Colin T to the inside of Mitchell Collins. Zidell up here. Hey, last time Nathan Smith was in the booth with me, Zidell went to victory lane in Rockingham. We'll have to see what he can do in this number 8 machine as he's going to move inside the top 10.
They're side by side down the backstretch with Mitchell Collins in the 27, and through 3 and 4, still side by side. I think Collins might have the run on the high side unless Zidell clears him, but he does not, and Collins gets that run off the high side, not able to get by, though, just yet.
You know, Zeidel's going to get it right here. That inside lane is really, really good through turns 1 and 2. It's more or less the outside lane is just not good at all. As for the race lead, that's all you got to do. Williamson went wide, and Harrison's going to take it away from him. So Joshua Harrison now out front here. Already halfway through the Southwest Airlines 200. Only 15 laps, and we have had 5 different leaders of this race so far. So it's anybody's race at this point. Great run for Roberto Crown Jr. as well in this 72 machine. Coming into this race 16th in points. Whereas Williamson could definitely use a good run as he comes in 32nd in points. So a lot of momentum could be swung here at the end of this race. Colin Teague to the inside of Dan Park. That is for the 5th position. And Teague's going to take it away from him right there. But Harrison pulling out to a pretty significant lead. Got a couple guys left down 25 machine. Joey Hightower had to come down the pit lane and issue on his machine. And we will see this in tomorrow's race too. And when we come here in September for the Southern 500 weekend, those guys, they hit that outside wall, and sometimes they gain too much damage to continue, and they have to come down the pit lane, and that's why we end up with a lot of guys who come down the pit lane early on in these races sometimes. Josh Williamson trying to hold off Roberto Crown Jr. while also trying to close back in on Joshua Harrison. And you're going to notice these guys, these times are going to start to fall off, and these guys are going to be going much lower through the corners here very soon.
So the 32 of Dan Park trying to get around, not Ben Crouch, Micah Knapp, he will. And Micah Knapp now under pressure from Justin Zeidel. And we'll see what Zeidel can do down the backstretch and through 3 and 4. So Micah Knapp, who led them back to the green flag on the restart, has not been able to keep the position. He's fallen to the back half of the top 10.
Yeah, he's not been able to hold on too well here. Currently running in the 7th position. There's also, you got to keep in mind as well, we're going to have another set of pit stops most likely in this race, and it's going to happen right at the end of the race as well, because like I said, fuel window about 20 laps here. There's a big question mark on what's going to happen at the end of this race. Roberto Crown Jr. closing in now on Joshua Harrison as he got around Josh Williamson. You see the slight damage there to the right side of Williamson's car as he's hit that outside wall a couple of times, and meanwhile Crown Jr. closing into the back bumper of Joshua Harrison. 11 laps to go here in the Southwest Airlines 200, and Crown Jr.'s got to run to the inside for the race lead. He's going to put that 48 in the outside wall. Looks like he will. That's going to hurt that 48 machine, and Williamson and Caesar coming fast. Have to see if that 75 is able to gain a momentum on the 48 machine. Not going to be able to do so quite yet, but that's going to allow Roberto Crown Jr. to pull away. Crown Jr. has never won a race on Napa Fan before. And neither has Joshua Harrison. Neither of these guys have gone the victory lane before in Napa Fan. A huge opportunity for both of them here today at Darlington.
Joshua Harrison just got moved up the track, unfortunate for him, and Williamson, that's just got into the wall. And that allows his teammate Julio Caesar to get by, and also allows Julio to close in on Joshua Harrison to possibly get around him and make a run at Roberto Crown Jr. for the race lead in these closing laps. But like you said earlier, we're going to have pit stops coming up quite soon.
And I think the cycle could begin like lap 27, and it could stretch. There could possibly be someone who can stretch it. And we sort of saw that at Kansas last week, too, in the Cup Series race. Even though the guy who ended up winning the race ended up stretching it to the lead, he was already the race leader once he stretched it. Still were a few guys in that race near the end who couldn't make it, so could be seeing a similar situation unfold here. How about this? Noah Clifton coming into this race second in points, all the way up to 7th now. And John Andrews he's moved up a little bit there, 23rd right now for the Nanaco Racing driver. But the way they are currently running, Clifton would take the points lead away. Caesar going to try to close in on Harrison here before they have to come back down again. These guys really have to slow down through the corners, so that's why we're seeing a lot of the gaps that we're seeing throughout the field. This track is one where they actually spread out quite a bit. And lots of times we can see complete green flag races here at Darlington. Sometimes we see caution-free races here. But right now, some of the biggest movers are Julio Caesar, Noah Clifton, as Caesar goes to the inside of Harrison for the 2nd position. That's going to open the door for Williamson to get around the 48 machine as well. So Caesar now has his eyes set on Roberto Crown Jr. for the top position, as they're going to be coming to 6 laps to go next time by. Nobody down the pit lane yet, but it's probably going to happen here very soon.
Yeah, Julio Caesar got by 4 second and He's closing in on Roberto Crown Jr. We'll see what happens when pit stops come up in the next few laps, as that's gonna decide the race.
Julio Cesar closed in a ton right there on the 72 machine. See if anyone's coming down the pit lane here. Doesn't look like anyone's coming down at this point. They continue to stay out there, but can imagine the fuel run's going to be interesting. Now, Joey Hightower. I will say this about Hightower. If he's already come down the pit lane, he should actually be able to make it to the end, which in return could mean that he can possibly stretch it out and steal a lot of ground from these guys as Julio Cesar gets around Roberto Crown Jr. for the race lead, our 7th different leader of the race. And Cesar did an excellent job getting the inside of that 72 machine and taking it away. It has been a very competitive race. 26 laps and 7 different leaders. I know I said it was going to be one of the shortest races of the season, but I didn't expect all these lead changes in this short of a race. Going to be interesting to see how it all goes down, though. Someone way off the pace there. Dan Park got stuck on the outside lane. And it gets worse as the tire wear increases. That outside lane just simply does not go anywhere. Julio Cesar, here we go. The cycle's going to begin right here. So Cesar's going to come down the points, or the race leader, I should say. Harrison's going to stay out an extra lap here. Zeidel's going to stay out an extra lap. Now the thing is this. If we end up with a caution while these guys are trying to come down the pit lane, those guys who stayed out might be at the advantage to possibly steal something. But Harrison's going to stay out here. He's going to lose a lot of momentum, and that's not going to be the winning move. So the big gamble you take by undercutting here at Darlington is if a caution comes out, all those guys who stayed out are going to have an advantage. Julio Cesar leads them down the pit lane after he made the pass on the 72 machine. And behind him, Josh Williamson there as well. This should realistically be a fuel-only stop for these guys. There's really no reason for them to take tires at this point. And Julio Cesar going to get out ahead of everybody else right there. The big question is, will anyone take tires, try to take that risk, and possibly get an advantage on the field? There's one guy who's still out there, Luke Rainey in the number 21, who is trying to stretch it, but I don't know if he's going to be able to make it to the end. But if he stays out here, he may just lap the field and win this race. Will that be the case? No, he's coming down the pit lane right here. I think McShane's also another one who stayed out. They were the only two who stayed out under that caution. Or should I say under that cycle, under that lap. 2 laps to go. Going to be the white flag officially when Luke Rainey crosses the line. So right at the end of the race, all these guys coming off the pit lane. There's Joshua Harrison. There's Julio Cesar. And Cesar getting out ahead of the 48. I would imagine that Landon Smith Jr. was at the back of the field. We haven't seen much of him all this race. So Julio Cesar now going to come around and take the white flag here in the Southwest Airlines 200. Even though Luke Rainey officially led at the white flag, Cesar's going to get around and take the lead away from him. Rainey's finally coming off, and Cesar is out of here in the 79.
Julio Cesar pitting early paid off, as he's out of turn 2 now on the final lap down the backstretch.
Julio Cesar, it's been a while since he's gone the victory lane on Napa Fam, but this is going to be a well-earned victory for him. And Otter Island Motorsports will win their first race in the Turkey Hill National Series in 2021. Julio Cesar wins the Southwest Airlines 200 at Darlington. Harrison will finish second. Roberto Crown Jr., Noah Clifton will take the points lead away from John Andrews. And Will Parrish, our pole sitter, going to round out the top 5 here at Darlington. But it's the Body Armor machine and not Body Armor Team Velocistar going to victory lane here today at the Darlington Raceway in the Turkey Hill National Series. Julio Cesar wins the Southwest Airlines 200. Interesting race there at the end, but at the end of the day, the cycle of pit stops at the end did not really affect much. Luke Rainey, who took the white flag, officially finished 23rd, but just couldn't stretch it to the end. If I were Luke Rainey, I would have tried to stay out and try to get it. That's what I would have done, but official results right there. And I mentioned Joey Hightower in the number 25. He had to come down the pit lane for some sort of an issue. He had already made a stop. He ended up falling to 12th, actually gaining all the way up to the 12th position, I should say. So he ended up getting a good run out of all that. And he's one of these guys who's up there top 10 in points as well. So that's going to be huge for Hightower in the championship. I think hopefully he's putting that Armory Digital mess behind him. But hey, what a great race here to start off the weekend. We are expecting another great race tomorrow at noon Eastern Time, and you're in that race, Nathan. How do you think it's going to play out in that 59-lap event for the NOFSRL Cup Series?
I think it's going to play out fairly similar to this one. Strategy and managing tire wear is going to be key, and also not smacking that outside wall out of turn 2.
It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. It's going to be interesting. They're much powerful cars, and they're going to have a much larger fuel cell as well. So the cycle is going to be much longer. So we're probably not going to end up with a quick cycle change like we did here in this race, where they came down lap 8 and they couldn't make it to the end. They're going to have probably about a 40-lap fuel window in tomorrow's race. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching. The official results one more time. And congratulations to Julio Cesar for getting his first win of the season here in the Turkey Hill National Series. He pulls it off here at Darlington. Great place to get a race victory. Next week, we head to Dover Downs, the Dover International Speedway in the first state of Delaware, which I just happened to graduate from earlier today as we're recording this race. But I didn't graduate from Dover. I graduated in the state of Delaware. Let's make that clear. I would love to graduate at Dover, but, you know, we're all past that. But Dover Downs, Wawa 200, another short race for these guys, only 40 laps around the Monster Mile, next Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Actually, maybe 4 p.m. Eastern time, since I don't know who's going to be watching the ARCA race, but I don't want to conflict with that. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching. Congratulations to Julio Cesar. We'll see you guys tomorrow at noon Eastern Time for the South Carolina Education Lottery 400 at Darlington. Thank you guys so much for watching. Here are the points for the Turkey Hill National Series, and on behalf of Nathan Smith, I will see you guys later.